I get like 2 viewers too when I stream on
That's all
Twitch.
good.
I have a good
Together
time.
we'll have 4.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody, this is Greg Zahn.
This is Anthony Telford
You're listening to The Walk-Off with Scott Belford and Adam Mack.
with Scott Belford and Adam Mack.
All right. Hello and welcome to the Walk-Off. We're joined today by the King of Blue Jays Twitter. You can catch him on twitch.tv, Bobby K, where he games regularly, and I think it's safe to say an honorary member of the Toronto Blue Jays family. Bobby K, welcome to the Walk-Off. Thanks for joining us, bud.
Yes, sir. What's up, guys? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so you're in New York right now, correct?
Yep, Long Island.
Yankees fan all your life?
Yeah, still am. Sorry.
Still am.
But obviously, Blue Jays above all else. I mean,
Okay, so I see how it works. So I'm curious then, when your bro Anthony got drafted by the Mets, was the whole family just a Mets fan all of a sudden?
Well, Steve Matz is from the same high school as us, so we like the Mets, but
Right.
I didn't like them enough to cheer for them that much, and he wasn't on the major league roster yet. So,
Of
but
course.
when he got there, yeah, of course, we would cheer for them. Yeah.
And then, of course, Jays fan once he made his move over to Toronto.
Yeah, Jay's above everything right now for sure.
And I know you don't remember, but we actually met back in spring training in Dunedin, end of February. We were both at a game there. We were in line at the washroom and we actually started talking ball. And you kind of mentioned that you were Anthony's brother and like how excited you were and he was to move from the Mets system. You didn't shit talk the Mets or anything, but that he was very excited to go to the Jays farm system, which had a lot of heat and a lot of people talking about it. Did you think that, like, I know you kind of briefly touched on it and then we got to the front of the line and I had to go piss and never saw you again, right? So did it help his progress moving to the Jays system?
Well, one thing he mentioned was that he started struggling when he first got called up to AAA, right? For the Mets, he had a couple bad outings, and they started trying to tweak things. And in my opinion, and then I think he felt the same way, was when things don't go right a couple times, there's something called variance. Like you could be doing the right things, but in baseball, little bloopers could be hits. Things could go wrong even though you're doing the right thing. And they were trying to change him a little bit to try to help him do better. They would try and do the right thing, but I think it was hurting him, and it was snowballing. So when he went to the Blue Jays, I think they said literally you just dominated Double A. You had like a 1.5 ERA or something crazy. Just keep doing that, and have confidence and go out there and throw. And he started doing really well when he got called up to AAA for the Blue Jays. And of course, the Blue Jays rotation wasn't set in stone like the Mets rotation. So that year he had an opportunity to make his way up to the majors, and that helped him a lot. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, of course. Did you play ball growing up too, Bobby?
Yeah, I played at Long Island University, in college. It's a Division II school on Long Island, and I was all right. I was a right-handed pitcher. I would top out at 90 when I could, but I was usually sitting about 88. And I went there for I graduated there and everything, but I never got called, got drafted or anything after that. But I had a good career. But
Yeah.
you got to hang up your cleats when your time is done.
Of course. It's funny, man. Even from like the 5-minute combo we had back in Dunedin, I could tell that like you were like super proud of what Anthony had accomplished. Like there was zero resentment. You were just pleased with where he'd gotten it. Is that safe to say?
Definitely, because you know what? Since I don't get to play now, it's like he's playing for me. I live vicariously through him, and I get more nervous watching him pitch than I ever did when I was pitching because you have no control over it. So
Yeah.
nothing but love there, and super proud for sure.
Yeah, that's great, man. I know when it's kind of funny because when Marcus Stroman was traded to the Mets for your bro and for Simeon Richardson Wood, the Toronto fans love Stroman, right? So their first reaction was, who are these guys? Typical fans, right? You're trading someone you love for 2 prospects you don't know. But now that we've watched kind of how things have unfolded, especially this year with what a predominant member of the bullpen Anthony became, everyone's on board with this now. Did Anthony feel that? Like, did you feel that as a family member? Like kind of this like animosity at first when he was traded, or not really? You just bury your head and don't worry about it. It'll work out.
So obviously there's a little resentment towards the Mets because they drafted him twice. They drafted him out of high school, and then he didn't go. It was like in the 20 something round, and he went to college,
Right.
and then they drafted him again in the first round, and uh, the new GM Brody was part of his agency CAA. So it was kind of like they turned his back on him a little bit, but obviously I don't have any problem with the Mets. It's just all business, and the way they were looking at it was they had a chance to make a run, and they thought if they could add a great arm like Stroman at that moment, that they were going to make the playoff run, and they were going to pull what they did back in 2015. It didn't work out for them, so the trade looks bad because right now you're only seeing Anthony, and he wasn't even the main prize in the trade.
Yeah.
So when you guys get to see Simeon Woods Richardson, you'll see that they got a special arm in that kid, and I think Jays fans will be pleasantly surprised about that trade outcome. Yeah.
Oh, I know. Even you watch the Baseball America top prospects, and all of a sudden he's in that top 100, and this trade looks
Yeah.
so much better for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. How long did you stay in spring training? Were you there right till the end of the world and they shut everything down?
Nah, I wouldn't say that long. Me and my mom, my sister usually go for 4 days, so we stayed
Right.
for 4 days, and I was pretty happy we got it in before COVID started happening. So that was a good trip to have that we have every year, and it sucked the way things turned out this year so far,
Yeah.
but hopefully next year we get back on our feet and everything is better.
Yeah, agreed. I know even I went back to Calgary March 5th, and then within about 10 days, everything was on lockdown. And I know you going
Yeah.
back to New York, that must have been just surreal and crazy. How did March and April play out for you?
So at my job, we manufacture medicine for people through blood. So my life was the same minus the Long Island traffic, which was pretty great. But I went to work every day. It just sucked not having to be able to watch our favorite sport, baseball, and not being able to watch Anthony pitch every 5 days. So
Yeah.
everything else was pretty normal for me.
It must have been sort of crazy to going from expecting to watch him in AAA in Buffalo as a member of the Bison and a starter to all of a sudden in the majors in Buffalo as a member of the bullpen. Uh, was that hard on him? Do you know? Like, did he mention that it was weird, or was it just business as usual and he's happy in the big leagues? He doesn't care.
So obviously he wants to be a starting pitcher. I mean, that goes without saying.
Of course.
But the opportunity to be on the major league roster this year was very exciting for him. He pitched a little bit when he was a freshman in relief in college, so he was kind of like used to like being the new guy and like coming up and proving himself kind of deal. So he was excited to be on the team and throwing in a major league on the major league mound. So no complaints there.
Well, it's funny because I know, I mean, Twitter's not the most positive place to be to begin with,
Yeah.
but when you're on Blue Jays Twitter, sometimes it's a little frustrating, and you've always been a guy on there that like you just you have baseball IQ. You can just tell you actually have seen the game, you've played the game, you know what's going on a little bit more than some of the people who just like play to play are losing their mind.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, for sure.
So when I bring this up, I am curious on your take of the defensive side of things with the Blue Jays this year. They ranked 29th, I think, for the runs that they had saved, right?
Yeah.
And
of course.
obviously a pitcher would never bring up a poor defense. But as a family member of a pitcher on the Jays, there must have been times you were pulling your hair out.
So you got to realize something. I was a pitcher too, and I'll never bash our defense. Errors happen and good plays happen. When you're a pitcher and someone makes an error behind you, you want to pick them up because you feel bad for them as the pitcher. You're not mad at them. You feel they're embarrassed and they're upset they didn't make the play. And I've always told that to Anthony. I said, Anthony, you got to pick up your teammates. Your third baseman makes an error. You go out there and you get a double play or whatever. And that was my thing. And you never be mad at somebody making an error. On the other end, the other thing that they really struggled with this year was the base running,
Yeah.
and that's something we could bash a little bit because base running is something you should not make as many mistakes as they did. I know they were trying to make things happen, and I know they were they're trying to do their best, but on the bases, giving up outs day in and day out was a little tough to watch. Worse, more so than the defense, but
Yeah.
that's something they could improve upon with experience as they grow as a team.
Even defensively, that's kind of the hope is that they put it together that way.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
base running was ugly. Especially in August, man. There were times in August where I was just like, not again. Like, you're complaining about it. It's in all of the news feeds.
Yeah,
Everyone's
right.
bitching. And then the next game, same thing. And you're like, how is this
I know.
possible?
I know. They got thrown out at home a lot for sure too.
Oh my God, man. And that's the thing, too, is like they'd be out on the bases by 10 feet. It's not like, oh, we better go to review. It's like, yeah, like there's not even a slide happening. You're stopping before you even get into the base there. Yeah.
Yeah, that was tough. Yeah.
So now it's funny, like I never, when this season started, envisioned the Jays actually making the playoffs. And it was so exciting when they did. And obviously, super disappointing that they lost to the Rays in 2 games. But now that we've kind of had a week to digest what went on, safe to say, pretty successful season, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this was kind of every decent team makes a playoff, so it was kind of cool that the major league they did it for this year. I hope they don't continue it next year, but I think this year was perfect. Definitely successful after last year and how poor their record was. To be able to come through and make the playoffs this year was super special. I remember tweeting towards the end of the year saying that I hope the Rays, can win some of these. I mean, the Jays can win some of these games because we don't want to face the Rays in the first round of the playoffs. And somebody tweeted back, "It doesn't matter if they win or lose." Blah blah. I was like, "You have no idea how bad we struggle with the Rays and how good they are." I
Yeah.
was like, "Not facing the Rays in the first round would be huge,"
Uh,
and I think it showed. And it's showing still that the Rays are a
are for
complete
real.
baseball team for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, no, it's funny you bring that up because even that last game where the Yankees lost and all they had to do was beat the Orioles, and I shouldn't say it that way. It's not like the Orioles are just a walking mat, but they did very well against them all year. And then to
Yeah, yeah.
watch them just lose 7-5 and be like, okay, we're playing the Rays, son of a gun. Like,
I know for sure. It was it's disappointing because I wanted them to at least win one game and like bring it to game 3. That would have been exciting. But I mean, like you said, we knew we weren't going to win the World Series this year, so it was a complete success to make the playoffs for sure.
I know probably one of the biggest bright spots. I mean, there were a lot of bright spots this season, but one of the most surprising bright spots, I think, was their bullpen this year. And a lot of it had to do with the fact that there was no minor league. So a lot of these starting pitchers that would have been in AAA, all of a sudden were in the bullpen. Guys like Thomas Hatch and Julian Merriweather, Anthony Kay, your bro, right?
Mhm.
Now that these guys are all going back to being stretched out and either starting with the Jays or stretching out with the Bisons. Do you see? Because I'm a little worried about the pen now. I'm like, I don't know. Next year, this could be a real black hole. I mean, obviously, they every year every team rebuilds their pen, right? But
Yeah.
do you see that being a possible problem next year?
Personally, no. You got to think
Okay,
about something.
I like that.
You have to think about something. There was a couple guys hurt this year, and there's a couple guys that need to resign. But in the end, if you could bring back Bass, Romano, and Giles, whatever is his
Yeah,
name, that's a solid 3 to end your game. I mean, all of them could close. And Dolis, he's been amazing this year. So that's 4 really solid end of the game pitchers. So when it comes to that, I think that's locked in. They said they want Baraki to stay in the bullpen. He's
love
been
that.
unbelievable this year out of the pen. They envision Anthony as a starter, so yeah, I think he'll move to the starting rotation in AAA. But think about those 4 guys. Think about Baraki. Think about possibly Hatch or Mayweather's. I mean, think Mayweather's going to be a starting pitcher, but
Yeah.
a couple of those guys are going to stay in the bullpen. And with those 4 other guys, I mean, I think that's a pretty solid pen. What do you think?
No, I think so too, man. Especially, you're right. Like if they can bring back Bass or something equivalent, like
Yeah,
obviously free agencies. We're not going to see the bullpen play out until probably January, February. Like every team, they're all waiting on a good deal for a reliever. But no, you're right. You put it that way, and maybe that's not the concern that that I thought it might be, you know?
But, I mean, I guess everything's a concern. Anything can happen. Injuries can happen. You saw it this year. So it was nice to have so many arms. I think that was what really stood out was the amount of bullpen arms we had, and they were able to eat so many innings. The Blue Jays set a record for not having starting pitchers go 7 innings. So having all those arms and all those starting pitchers in the bullpen helped out a lot this season.
It did, which was also a point of contention, especially amongst fans, how little the starters were given free reign, right? Like
Yeah.
for the most part, 4 or 5 innings was pretty much the average. I think you were right where they were right down at the bottom of the league with the Rays, which is they were, I think, copycatting that a little bit, right? With it's been proven going to the bullpen and matching up against hitters works that way, and not going that third time through the lineup is something that works. How did you feel about that? Like, you're a former pitcher, you're watching your bro who's a former starter and going to be stretched out again. Does that mess with a starter's mentality when he's like, I can't even go past the fifth?
So, like you said, I was a starting pitcher, and it was funny. I think it was my junior year. Yeah, my junior year, I set the school record for complete game shutouts in a season. I had 4 complete game shutouts that year, and when I started a game, my goal was to always finish it. I can't imagine pitching as a starter and being like, up 4 innings, I'm good. So I think that's a little crazy, but like you said, it's been a successful formula for these major league teams to go through a lineup once or twice as a starting pitcher and then have the bullpen take over after 2 times through the lineup, and hitters don't get to get comfortable with you again for the third time in the lineup. So it's proven successful, but as a pitcher, I wouldn't want to get taken out of the game. No. But yeah, for sure.
Well, that tends to be the case, right? I mean, how did you feel about how they played game one? And the truth is it worked, right? Going with Shoemaker for 3 and going with Robbie Ray for 3, you can't ask for more than 1 run over 6 innings. But to watch how upset, and don't get me wrong, I loved seeing Shoemaker upset with being pulled, even if he had been told in advance, you're only going 2 or 3 innings, which I truly do believe he probably was told. Everyone's like, well, who would be that upset if they were told? It's like, well, fuck, a competitor. That's who.
No, yeah, he was just trying to get some more innings. I'm sure he knew the game plan going.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good to see him upset. Obviously, my main concern is when thinking about starting pitching and thinking about free agents. A starting pitcher is really going to want to come to Toronto if they know that they're going to get pulled after 4 or 5 innings. Someone like Bauer, he'll never give up the ball after 5 innings. Get out of here if he's throwing well.
Yeah.
But I think someone like him is a different breed, so they would let him go more than 5 innings.
Well,
but,
and they did that with Ryu too. They kind of let him do what he wanted to do. Yeah.
So it just sucks because it seems as like for someone like Shu that if they let Ryu do it, why don't they let me do it? Do they not have trust in me that I can
Right.
go more? I let up 1 run or 1 hit or 2, whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's kind of demoralizing as a starting pitcher to be taken out for no reason. But like you said, their game plan was to do that, and they decided no matter what's happening, we're gonna implement the game plan. And like you said, it definitely worked.
Yeah. It did work. Whether people were upset about it or not, it did work, right?
Yeah, it did what they wanted to do for sure.
Okay, so I've got a few listener questions here for you. And this is the thing, right? Is everyone knows that you watched pretty much every game. Like you were
Yeah.
pretty glued to the Jays this year. So this is just more what your opinion is, and that's fine. So whatever you think, like let her fly here. Who do you think was the most underrated Blue Jay this year? One of the guys who maybe people didn't notice things with his contributions, but if he wasn't there, it would be very noticeable.
Somebody that gets no credit out of the bullpen was Dolis. I mean, compared to the other guys' names, Romano. Everybody talks about Romano, right?
Yeah.
Everybody talks about Bass, but Dolis really came in there, and when people were injured, he was always coming in and shutting the door. All the position players. I mean, I think they speak for themselves, and they're always in the spotlight when it comes to his team. But I think he did a great job out of the bullpen, and he stepped up big time for this team.
Didn't he? What a great signing. Like to just scoop him up out of Japan like that. And even this option they have for 1.5 million to sign him again. I mean, that's the most
That's a no.
most obvious re-up you could possibly have. It's great.
Yeah, for sure. So I'll go with him. I think he did a great job.
All right. So this one's from Jennifer right here in Calgary. And she asks, of all the players, Bobby, who's your pick to make the biggest step forward next year?
Uh, well, you want me to be obvious and say Nate Pearson because I think we're all I think we're all cheering for him to get his accuracy down, and if he does that, you guys saw what he did. He's
Oh,
unhittable. So once he finds that control, I think he was overthrowing a couple times, and maybe that injury affected him a little bit. But he came in the playoffs, and you saw what he did. He's lights out. If he gets that down, watch him to make a huge impact this year for sure.
wasn't that exciting?
Yeah, it
Game
was
two.
great.
It was just like, what the hell? Like, man, to watch that radar gun hit 102, like it's such a ridiculous number. Like it's such a friggin' high.
I
Did you ever
know.
watch Major League growing up?
Yep, of course. Yep.
Remember when they were show the radar gun with Rick Vaughn, right?
Yep.
And it was like 97,
I know.
99, and everyone was like, whoa, like that's so crazy. And now,
Yeah.
like, every team has three of them. Like,
I know. Even the starting pitchers like DeGrom throwing 102 in like the fifth inning or something.
Right.
stupid. I don't know what's going on. It's
No, for
crazy.
sure. In fact, it was kind of cool this year. Like we saw the velocity of the bullpen go up because all these starters, guys like Hatch and Kay, like even
Yeah,
your
yeah,
brother
yeah.
was hitting 96, 97. I'd never seen him hit that on the
I know,
radar
I
gun
know.
before, you know?
Yeah, me too. I was like, oh, Anthony, I didn't know you had that in you, bro. It's like, one inning, you just let it rip. But I was like, yeah, for sure.
All right. So the next question I feel might be a little bit of a gimme. It's kind of obvious, I think, but we'll give it to you anyways here. Hyunjin Ryu, game 2 of the wild card. Bad game or something that Jays fans should be worried about going forward?
They said possibility that he might have been pitching 100%. I forget where I read that. But you saw his control was way off. And
Yeah.
when someone's thrown 89, they only have control. They're never going to beat a hitter with the blow it by him or whatever. When guys throwing 102 could throw it down the middle and the swing and misses. So no, obviously nothing to be worried about unless he's hurt. That's my only concern. But as
Right.
far as how well he's going to pitch, I mean, no, there's no concern there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I know they were saying his velocity was down. And it's weird in a situation like that, like does the team hide if there's a little tweak wrong with an injured player? Like even when you were pitching in college, like if there was an injury, like would sometimes it was just easier to be like, no, he's fine, especially at the end of the year, right? Where what's the benefit of letting everyone know there was something going on? Is that something teams do, or are they normally pretty transparent with stuff like that?
Well, I think it depends what it is. First of all, if you have like elbow soreness or whatever pain, I don't think they're ever going to let you go out there and throw, no matter how important it is. It depends. I mean, obviously their doctors know what they're doing, so there's so many injuries that it could be, a bone chip or whatever it is that it can hurt, but it's not going to affect you injury wise. I don't think that if he told them that he was hurting and he didn't feel 100%, they would ever throw him in that game, especially
Yeah.
since it's going to be in the spotlight and everything. So I'm sure he told them they were fine. I could tell you one thing: sometimes pitchers lie for sure about the severity of how much they're hurt. That's one thing that we did because you always want to throw, and I've done that multiple times, but I don't think the Jays would ever throw him out there with a possible arm
Right.
injury, especially they have so
So
much money invested in him.
we're gonna take a little bit of a left turn here, but just because this fits in with what we're talking about. Mike Clevenger,
Mhm.
right? Sits out the wild card series, comes back for game 1 against the Dodgers, pulled after the first inning. Do you think it's a similar scenario there where maybe he said he was feeling better than he really was?
Yeah. Obviously, he was super excited to be able to pitch in the playoffs. And I'm sure when he was just throwing, his arm probably felt okay after throwing some bullpens, and it wasn't feeling so great. So I think they were gonna let it see how it played out, and if there was any pain, they would probably just pull him. no matter what. And I think that's what we
That's
saw
what
there.
happened, eh?
Yeah,
Yeah, because
definitely.
it's funny watching that game. I was like, I don't know why it upset me so much watching him being pulled. I was just like, what the hell? Like he shouldn't have even been in this game then. But obviously, there's more to it than that, right? It's not necessarily that they were pushing him to go through the pain or anything like that. He was probably saying, "I'm fine. It's
Yeah,
good."
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You're probably dead on. Where like they're like, okay, we'll let him try, and if not, we'll pull him. So, but I don't know. Without Clevenger, I'm just like, frick. After everything the Padres have done, they're just gonna get steamrolled here. Like.
Oh man, they almost pulled it off last night. Joe Kelly
Didn't they?
almost
That game
blew it.
last night was insane, buddy. Man, I love playoff
I
baseball.
don't know how
Frick.
Hosmer chased a couple pitches when Joe Kelly was walking everybody. I was like, Hos, come
Yeah.
on, dude, you're a vet. You should be taking those. But in the end, he threw a couple good sliders to Hosmer and got him to roll over one, and that ended that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what do you do? I mean, it's tough to get too upset with Hosmer after he just like goes back to back with home runs there on, you
No,
know,
of course,
like,
yeah, I know.
yeah.
I'm not blaming him, but
No, of course, but yeah.
yeah.
All right. So next it says now I know you're biased, but
Okay.
do you think your brother will make the opening day roster in 2021?
I think it depends on some of these arms in the starting rotation. I think it'll depend on spring training, but if I had to guess, I'm gonna say no. I think he's gonna be like they had the plan for this year was in AAA. It depends what Nate Pearson does.
Yeah.
You know,
Depends on
the
injuries too, I'm sure.
yeah, the confidence that they had to call him starting pitcher at the end of this year and say this is where we want him gives me a little hope he cracks it, maybe in like the fifth spot.
Yeah.
But the best thing for him, I think, might be AAA. But since he's already got MLB time now, they might say, okay, well, he's already,
The
accrued
clock
that 1 year.
started. Yeah.
Yeah, let's get him up here and let's do it. So, like I said, the two main factors are who they have in the starting rotation and how spring training goes. That will determine
Yeah.
if he makes it.
Well, I know I'm excited about him. I know a lot of Jays fans are kind of in the same boat after this season because we hadn't had a chance to see Anthony pitch, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
not many MLB fans are big enough ball fans that they're following other teams' minor league systems, right? So
yeah, of course.
it was great to watch him this year and to be so dominant too at times. I mean, in August he was pretty much unhittable. I know he had his ups and downs throughout the year, but yeah, solid season definitely.
Yeah, it kind of got ruined. I mean, you saw he had like a 2 something ERA. It kind of got ruined his last two outings.
Yeah,
Well, he came in against the Mets. He got a pop up. The guy lost it under those lights. I forget who's
yeah,
playing center field, but I mean, nothing you could do about that. And then the next inning, he loaded the bases, which was his fault. He walked a couple of guys, but then he got a ground ball to second base. He
yeah,
threw it home. A catcher dropped it. That was an easy
yeah.
double play because it was like kind of a short hop. So everybody had to hold up. So you could have went home to third or even home to first. You would have had a easy double play there. And then obviously he made a bad pitch to Dom Smith, a high fastball, and Dom took advantage of it. So yeah, a couple bad outings, 2 bad outings in the year to inflate his ERA. But if you
Yeah.
look at the quality outings, I think he had something like 15 appearances. And if you put out 13 or 12 quality appearances, I think he did all right. I know the ERA is a little inflated, but you have to look at how many times he did well. And out of 2 or 3 times he didn't do so well. I mean, I'll take it.
And I mean, the truth of the matter is, and obviously, like you said, right, it's about picking your teammates up. So you can't just look at the errors and go, oh, well, this is why. But every pitcher in that bullpen had moments. Frick, even Ryu in game 2 there, like Bichette could have ended that inning.
Yeah, yeah. That was
Bummer of an error. I mean, it's too bad. It could have been 3-0 instead of 7-0, which would have changed everything, right? So
Yeah.
like, and I think this is where we were talking about defense earlier. Where like you hope that just a little bit of experience and some of this stuff stops happening, right? Because that'll go a long way with this
Yeah.
team.
I mean, errors are pretty contagious. People make errors and they make them in groups. I don't know why, but it happens. And like you said, it's going to be experience. And Bichette's he's an awesome ball player.
Yeah,
So
isn't he?
I don't think you have anything to worry about there.
No, me neither. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's actually an exciting core of young position players. I mean, between Biggio and Bichette and frick, even Gurriel Jr., there were times where I was like, this guy
Yeah,
can
yeah.
friggin' hit. Like,
Unbelievable, right?
oh, man.
Yeah.
All right. So the last listener question here for you, my man, is about next season. And it's if you could bring one free agent in this year, who would it be? And if you don't have a name, what area are you looking to bring someone in for?
Jeez. So, I mean,
Obviously Trevor Bauer would be the
Yeah, I
best.
was gonna
but
say, I think we need to improve the starting rotation. I think everybody agrees with that. We went over before about how they didn't go many innings. They taxed the bullpen in 162 games. Is that going to work? I mean, if they were pushing it in 60 games this year, the amount that the bullpen threw. So my main concern would be, I would like to see Walker. He's a free agent, right? He's not
Yeah.
back. Yeah, I'd like to see if they can bring him back. And yeah, like you said, Bauer. And I think they need an outfielder. Don't they need an outfielder?
I think they need an
outfielder.
outfielder too.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I look at their outfield with Teoscar and Gurriel and Grishik, and it's not a bad outfield.
Yeah.
It's just like,
I like one of them
Can
to DH though, once in a while, and I would like to do it that way if it was up to me.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
yeah,
that's what I'm
absolutely.
going for.
Right on.
But
Honestly,
we also need low key. We need a catcher. I mean, Danny Jansen, if he does what he can, I'm all for it. But the catchers struggled to hit a little bit. I mean, and obviously Alejandro Kirk. Let's see how he plays out. But they kind of threw
he
him
is
from,
21 though.
they
And
threw him
just
from single A to
yeah.
So let's see what happens. But
Yeah. No, it's interesting you bring that up. And I actually do like Danny Jansen, but you also, and he, you know what? It's funny. Kirk, I think, pushed him a little bit because he did end the season with a 190 batting average, which is god awful. But considering he was batting 140 up until about September, he did
Yeah.
improve, right?
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Let's see
All
what
right, man. Honestly, thank you so much for taking the time, brother, to join us on our little rinky dinky podcast here in Calgary, Alberta. But super appreciated, man.
Nah, guys, thanks for having me, and I'm definitely excited to come back. You guys are awesome, so thank you so much.
Yeah, right on, dude. Hopefully, we run into you in spring training again when times aren't the apocalypse. It would be good.
Yeah, I'll be there for sure.
Right on. Honestly, again, Bobby, thank you so much. I'll tag you on Twitter or whatever for this. So any like retweets or whatever you can do is much appreciated, and would love to have you back maybe later in the off season if you're into such tomfoolery. And
Yeah,
thanks
in,
again.
guys. Yeah, I'll be there.